Hello, everyone. I'm just getting the Substack. Getting the Substack going. All right. TikTok's taking a second. Let's try to reset that. Let's get the news pulled up. Let's get the other streams pulled up. Let's make sure we're good. All right. We are live, baby. And is YouTube on? Yes, YouTube is on. Awesome. And we can see the chat. Awesome. I have to figure out how to get the rest of the chats all together. I'm going to take time to figure that out at some point. And go live. There we go. Good enough. Okay. Sorry for everyone that has just been chilling on the other platforms. You know, it takes a little bit to get everything going. We go live on 7 platforms. So it does take a second to get everything going. But I do believe we are good on everything, so we will get right into the show. We're starting in 3, 2, 1. What is up, team? Welcome back to Headquarters. Your Antifa CEO here on this beautiful Sunday. You know, we normally don't pop into the pod with a full shebang on the Sunday, but we had a little time, so we figured why not spend it with the comrades. Hope everyone's doing okay. Hope everyone's had a great weekend. We are still in the midst of our economic blackout, so I hope that everyone is trying their best to make sure that they are spending money as locally as possible. We have to try to starve these billionaires. I'm seeing some preliminary numbers that they're reporting that this Black Friday may have still been the biggest, but when the prices are the highest that they've ever been, really, that makes a lot of sense. Considering the tariffs, considering the greed, considering the CEO compensation, the shareholder value that needs to be returned, it's very obvious that that number is going to still go up. But we all know, especially the people that's actually putting those things in the basket, that we are not getting nearly as much as we used to get for our money. Trump's economy is mostly fake. You know, that's why I was trying to let y'all know before Black Friday that there's no deals. You know, it's called anchor pricing. They just slap a number, they'll put any number, put a slash through it, put something cheaper, and it does something to your brain. I'm not sure, you know, I'm just a simple chemist. I didn't go to school for psychology or anything like that, but it does something to our monkey brains when we see a big number slashed out, and it makes us feel like we have to buy. But the easiest way to save money, and this is a life hack. Thank you for that, Bare Necessity. I appreciate that. The easiest way to save money is to just not buy. We don't have to purchase things on sale because that's not any way for us to save money. I mean, it's simple math. But they just, hey, we're on the propaganda factory. We're here because we're trying to fight back. We know that we are inundated with billionaire propaganda. And I feel like that's why I needed to, come here on a Sunday. I know, listen, y'all can clip me, y'all can play it back, y'all can rub it in my face. I know that I said only a fool wears a suit on the Sunday. But when it comes to the working class solidarity movement, I guess I'm the biggest fool there is, because I will continue to work 7 days a week. It just is what it is. Whatever we have to do to get the message out, whatever it takes, that's what we're going to do. For all of our audio listeners, we've been having a good time. We've been throwing some raves this weekend on our lives. We've been getting lots of love from all of the friends we've made over on TikTok. Lots of love from Joey's crew coming in. Lots of love from Dr. Greg. Oh, Dr. Greg, you're here right now. Lots of love from Dr. Greg. Big shout out Dr. Greg over on TikTok and all platforms with the Dr. Greg Show Live. We just put an episode out yesterday, a bonus episode that was recorded on Dr. Greg's show. Very, very chill guy. I feel like our energy meshes well. I think that we'll do really good collaborations in the future. And when it comes to the propaganda factory, frankly, we need as many fact generators as we can. We need to have good resources that we're pulling from, our own resources. We're doing our own research. So that's why I'd love to have as many just smart people. I like to surround myself with as many smart people as possible. I live in a very conservative place. Are there smart people here? Sure, but you throw a rock, it's hard to find. A whole lot of MAGA Supremes, and we know that they can't read the best. I got my friends in my area. There's some smart folk, but I like to surround myself with smart people because iron sharpens iron. And I'm trying to, when you're trying to accomplish big things, you don't want to be around dullness. I can't be lulled into the false senses of security that these people have for whatever reason when our economy just continues to go down the crapper. I mean, especially for my area, and my area is indicative of many areas in the country because it's extremely conservative and has lived under conservative regime for at least, realistically, a long time, because even though the parties flipped or whatever, we can get into that, but the Democrats of the South were the conservative party. So, we've lived under conservative politics for a very long time, and it's very obvious that it's failed because we see that every place that has lived in conservative politics for generations is just the bottom of the barrel. I hate to put it to you, facts over feelings, MAGA. This is just the numbers. We can see the numbers. I know maybe they didn't teach you how to do some things with numbers, but this is simple math, MAGA. We are the bottom of the barrel in every regard. That's why they're attacking education right now. They're doing it because MAGA understands that the more uneducated people we have in this country, that the better that they do, because it's easy to get mad when you do not understand. I think that's part of what we do when we come together is we try at least the best we can on the propaganda factory to provide as much context as possible as well as ammunition so that we can fight back in these propaganda wars, because it's a battle for the minds. And it's the minds of our fellow working class people who ultimately the billionaires are using against us, who ultimately the billionaires have found a way to make poor people believe that billionaires in some way can help them. And I think, okay, let's cut some propaganda real quick. Because one of the biggest indicators that billionaires actually do not help us in any way, shape, or form is whenever we try to be a little more progressive with our policies and they threaten economic terrorism against us. They say, we're going to pull all our resources, we're going to pull all our money, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And in small instances like a rural city or something like that, those things can happen because the billionaires do have enormous amounts of control, and it is economic terrorism. It's just that simple. But, however, if we had a better system that did not allow for these people to just extract like that, I think that would really fortify a lot of these communities. You know, somewhere along the way, we've shifted the tax burden from wealthy people to poor people, and we feel it. That's why poor people are upset. That's why so many poor people right now, and look, when I'm saying poor people, guess what? I'm in that ship too. We are all in the same boat. That boat is not a mega yacht. So when I am saying poor people, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm talking about myself, okay? So poor people are paying way too much in taxes. And it's time that we stop being insulted by the fact that we're poor. We pick ourselves up, we dust ourselves off, we link arm in arm, and we understand that, you know, we don't have to continue living like this. That we can request, you know, nicely, that we be given a little more dignity. But we see when we request nicely how they treat us. They deny us. They deny us because that's not what's best for the shareholders. We see that right now with our comrades on the strike line, on the picket line with the Starbucks Workers United Union. And we are not purchasing any coffee, no pumpkin spice lattes, and maybe that's over, no Christmas peppermint. I don't know. I don't really go to Starbucks that much. I've had it a couple times. I did a little stint last year. Not even going to lie to y'all. Did a little stint last summer. Got Starbucks a couple weeks. It's overpriced. It's overhyped. Once I was looking at the budget at the end of the month, I was like, my God, why do we spend this much money on coffee? You know? And if we're spending that much money on coffee, we can spend that locally. There's tons of local coffee shops that provide coffee. So that's what we need to do. And when we just see it. We see it time and time again when we allow these billionaires, when we allow these corporations to get so much power, we are the only ones who lose out. And they just chip away and chip away and chip away until our schools are closing, until our hospitals are closing, if they're not closing them themselves because they bought them up. You know, there's so many aspects of our society that we're just allowing unfettered, unmitigated, raw capitalism just come in and extracting our lifeblood for the shareholders. I just read a book. I think I might have plugged it on the previous podcast. It is, it's Megan Greenwell. It is it's private, Bad Company, Private Equity, and something by Megan Greenwell. And essentially talks about how the private equity companies are gutting our country. But what's very interesting is that it's something that we've all known. And in the 4 examples of people that is provided in that book, we see 4 examples that almost every one of us has gone up against explicitly, whether that was a corporate landlord, whether that was a corporate retail store that we either worked or engaged with, whether that was a corporate healthcare system. You know, our community systems are literally being consolidated and put into healthcare portfolios for the shareholders to have return value. You know, they're looking at the numbers of babies being born and old people needing healthcare and deciding that that's not profitable for the shareholders. How demonic. You know, we really need to get back to the point where we can remove profit motive from certain things, because these false profits is what continues to lead us astray. Look, Bare Necessity worked for Toys R Us when they were going down. And so realistically, if you were to read that book or listen to that book, you would get a firsthand account of something that you lived, and you would be like, oh, wow, this was happening everywhere. You know, and one day you wake up and Toys R Us is going out and they're shutting everything down because some company bought them up. And it was more lucrative to strip down the real estate. It was more lucrative to put them in a rent lease agreement. You know, they do all this financial engineering. They do all this speculation, all this whatever, so that they can get the money back to the shareholders. And who is left out? Us, our communities, our children, our schools, our hospitals, our roads, everything that we're supposed to have. It's not that we're given, everything that we're supposed to have from living in a society. I mean, we come together in the society, but we allow these billionaires to just strip down every good thing that we worked up to build. And that is the most disgusting and disappointing thing about it, is because, you know, at what point do we say enough is enough? And where do we draw the line? And I think that right now in our lives, we're seeing that when we don't have lines drawn clearly around the things that humans need for survival, or the magical things that our monkey brains have created to make our lives better, when we can't draw lines around certain aspects of that, well, we just get closer and closer to a hellhole, you know, and maybe some people, which I know for a fact, some people are living that today. But for most of us, we are getting dragged closer and closer into that. I mean, every aspect of American life is being put out of reach, but it's not for the shareholders. You know, it's being, you know, they're just moving the goalposts. You got to be 40 now to buy a house. You're going to need a 50-year mortgage to buy a house. Your house won't be paid off until you're 90, but the life expectancy in this country has fallen to 83 years of age for women. I think it's like 81 for men. Our life expectancy has fallen for the first time in a long time. That's not something that you hear of in modern economies, and it's not because we topped out, because in many countries their life expectancy is higher than ours. You know, we're supposed to be the best. We're supposed to be the greatest. We're supposed to be all these things. But I just want to point out that when you look at what America was designed to be, we are exactly what we were, exactly what Tommy J wrote down, exactly what slave-holding Tommy J wrote down, that's what we are. So I don't see why we are surprised. When we look at the President of the United States, Donald Johnny Trump, Donnie Johnny, all right? He is exactly what America wanted from its citizens. They wanted a whitey man to just be born on third base with a nice inheritance, with the ability to just throw money around and make mistakes and live the kind of life that they want to live and own property. And that person would elevate and become wealthy and you know, that's exactly what they wanted. When we look at how the country was designed, Donald Trump is the embodiment of the American Constitution. And I know that sounds crazy. I know that people are thinking, how he spits in the face, he breaks the laws, he does all these things. But why in a capitalist country would we expect any different from the chief capitalist? You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me, especially a country in which the founding documents of the government wrote that people, literal human beings, are only valued at 3/5 of a person. All right, that women and people of color, if you didn't own property, you couldn't vote. So exactly what this country was designed to be is the embodiment that we see in Donald Trump. I don't know why we're upset, because this, you know, maybe we're upset because they didn't teach it right. They give us all these buzzwords about equality, and we see, you know, the fighting, you know, the fighting and the brutality that's happened to the brown bodies to try to make that dream of America, you know, acceptable for all people. But this right now is the backlash to that. It's the backlash of the expansion. And even though it was expanded, it's not like it was easy. It's not like it you know, it's, come on. We know. We know for a fact. It's not like we were all just out here singing Kumbaya before Trump came on the scene. Things were still hard. And we're seeing the lashback right now from the certain demographic of people who feel like they are being exposed to that second-class citizenry, and realistically, they are. But it's not because more colored people are being brought into the fold. It's because, well, they're figuring out that all of us poor folk are in the same boat, and that boat is not a mega yacht. That's if we can just keep that in the forefront, if working class people can hear every day that it is not poor people that don't look like you, and instead it is rich people who look almost exactly like you, then I think we can get things figured out. We can have better results. Because somewhere along the way, we've lost the message and we've lost the ability to even, get that message to people. I think it's because, and maybe it's just me, maybe I am a little biased, but I think it's because the Democrats are a billionaire sellout party, just like the Republicans. Now, the Republicans do have a different type of billionaire in their class, but when the billionaires are funding both parties against the working class people, what do we expect to happen? And that's why I believe that this country is working exactly how it was designed, because it was never in any way, shape, or form supposed to be something for working class people to get a fair shake. It was always meant for working class people to be subjugated by smarter, more wealthy people who owned more things. And that we see it in the design of our government and every aspect, even down to the House of Representatives, in the way that the districts are drawn and all the things. We see that it is designed to subjugate the masses. And I don't know where we got caught up in it was anything other than that. Because I think that's what makes us so upset right now with this Trump stuff, is we're thinking that this is like not who we are, but this is exactly who we are, and this is exactly who we've always been. We've always been a country that's brutalized brown bodies. We've always been a country that said that certain people should have a better life than other people. And realistically, when I get on here, I am saying the exact same thing. I am saying every aspect of America. It's just that I am saying it differently. I happen to like brown, poor people who look like me because that's what I am. I just don't happen to like billionaires, because when I'm doing the math, I see that all of the money is there for all of the nice things that we need, especially in America. Those other countries can get it figured out, but we'll focus on America first. I see that the billionaires are the ones that are gatekeeping it from us, the ones that are paywalling it, that are purchasing the houses and saying that we have to rent it from them, the ones that are buying up the hospitals and saying that it's not lucrative to deliver babies in this small rural county safely. But we're pro-life and we donate to pro-life causes, but we're not going to make sure that these babies are safely delivered in this rural red county. I don't know what it's going to take. But I do know that once we come together and we get it figured out and we stop BSing, I'm not even going to lie. I'll be honest with everybody. We've just had a little infighting in our group chat because one of our members was calling out another member for not being left enough. And I had to point out, man, you were in a chat with some of the most sick left radical people in America. People that Johnny Trump would label Antifa tees, all right? And so anyone in this chat is more than left enough. And of course, we might not agree on 100% of things, but obviously we agree on 99% of the things. We should act accordingly. We should treat our comrades respectfully. And we should make sure that if we're having discourse, we're doing it in a constructive way and maybe in some more structured settings. If we want to have leftist debates, let's set up times and things like that, and let's do it that way instead of ambush style, because frankly we can't bully. When we look at all these conservative hellholes across the South and whatnot, we can't bully some of the few proclaimed leftists in those areas just because they're not proclaiming to be maybe as left as we're proclaiming to be, because in what capacity would we expect them to ever even find the ability to be exposed to that ideology? I mean, look, I'll be the first one to tell you, I'll say I'm a leftist. I'll say I'm a communist. I'll say I'm all these things. I'm not the best read. I haven't read the most theory. I'm continuing to read, and I'm reading all kinds of things. But when it comes down to it, it doesn't actually matter. I hate to break it to you, but it doesn't. And for all of these people that are going to be like, oh, blah, 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 hey, then you get out here and you do something and you push. Because frankly, when I'm sitting here doing the hours that I'm doing for the working class solidarity movement, to say anything that I'm not left or anything because I haven't read whatever is absolutely insulting. When I'm putting my face out here, my voice out here, when I'm, literally just pushing every single day that we can. I mean, it's literally a Sunday. literally on a Sunday out here pushing the working class solidarity movement, you know, it's insulting. And for all of these people with platforms who have spoken up against this G-side that's been happening, spoken up against all these atrocities that are happening to brown people, that have been on the ground protesting, it is insulting to say that they're not left enough. And so I don't participate in any of that. You don't have to jump through any hoops to be part of our sick left radicals. You just have to say, I want to come home. That's it. Just, hey, and welcome home. Our arms are wide open. Our hearts are wide open. We take all converts, and we'll radicalize you along the way. You know, I'm not a fool in the game. I know we're not about to find 100 million Marxists in America. No, we have to create 100 million Marxists in America. You know, that's when it comes down to it. And the buzzwords, you know, the scary buzzwords, communism, Marxism, all these scary things that the American government has spent billions of dollars to propagandize. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about having to fight that, because I know when it comes down to it, working class people see it. They see that they are being robbed. They see it when they go to the store and they can't afford as much food. They see it when their landlords are hiking up the rent and the banks won't give them a mortgage that's lower than the rent. They see it in every aspects of their lives, and the working class people are getting fed up and tired. So it's not going to be me that makes 100 million Marxists in America. It's going to be the billionaires that'll do it, because the billionaires do not know when to quit. They don't know when to take the boot off the neck. They don't know when to say it's enough profits. $1 billion is never enough for them, and so they will continue. And because of that, they will be the ones who damn themselves. It won't be me doing anything. It won't be us doing anything. The billionaires are doing it to themselves because they do not know when to stop. And because of that, our job's going to be easy. You know, our job's going to be easy. Here on a Sunday, like I said earlier, we've been doing raves on TikTok Live on the weekend. I'm trying to get with Joey Does It for next Friday. He's been doing a Love on the Talk type thing where they're doing matchmaking, and I'm trying to set up an after party for that. So I'm hoping that we can do that next Friday, because Joey has a great community and I would love to provide a nice party atmosphere for them. They deserve to have a good time for free, especially. But yeah, our after party raves, our CEO raves have been pretty fun on TikTok. You know, your boy, I'm always in the suit, always working for y'all. Your boy gets on. I got my DJ stuff. I play the things I like to play. You know, I'll play some stuff for y'all, but mostly I play what I like to hear, because you might have not known it, but your Antifa CEO is also an underground house DJ. So we play that sick nasty. We spin it up. We play all kinds of things for the comrades, and we have a good time. We also talk working class solidarity while we're playing, which is a fun aspect. And you can, you know, usually like late nights, if I'm going live by myself on late nights, then I'll do that at home, because, you know, people don't always want to talk politics at night, and that's cool. I don't really care. You know, I'm talking it 24 hours a day anyway. So me going live and playing music is just another way for me to get the working class message out there. And so that's what I'll do. It's fun though. It's a good time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those roses, Missa. And shout out to all the platforms right now. I'm seeing that we have grown a little bit. Shout out to the TikTok. We had some friends stop through. Shout out to the Substack. Looks like we got one viewer on Substack, so we're growing on there too. We just we're up to 107 subscribers on Substack. Just got one last night. So huge dub to all of our subscribers on Substack. Huge dub to our Twitch viewer right now. Not sure who that is, but we're up to 3 followers now on Twitch. So we're growing there. Up to 2 followers now on Kick with 1 viewer right now. So big dub to you over on Kick. We are up to 79 subscribers on YouTube. So I feel like just Friday or Saturday we had 77. Now we're up to 79. So we're growing. And I know that those numbers sounds low, but whenever we are on Facebook, on our Propaganda Factory Facebook with 48.3 thousand followers. We have 138,000 on our Memes That Can Save the World page. We have 26.3 on our TikTok. You know, obviously we have the following, and this isn't any time to like I'm bragging or whatever, but I'm saying that we are making it a point to grow on all platforms. Missa, it is MTC STW on as many platforms as you can find, and we also have the Propaganda Factory. So after we cut this, we upload it to the Propaganda Factory. We upload it to the Propaganda Factory on all platforms, and also MTC STW. We're on Facebook. It's our main 2 pages. Memes that can save the world in the Propaganda Factory. And so if you want to hear us after the fact, Missin, we've been trying to do a podcast episode 5 days a week. We also post whenever we go guest on other episodes. We'll try to get that recording and get it uploaded to the feed. And we also are trying to bring guests. We have a great guest this week, actually, booked from the team. So that's going to be fun. We have a chat for you, hopefully. Nothing comes up in either of our schedules, but that should be fun. We're going to be talking about some heavy topics and also talking about just working class solidarity and how we're continuing to organize. So, I feel like we're doing the things that we're supposed to do, and I'm seeing the results that I think that I should be seeing. Maybe it's not as fast as I would like, but, I've gotten used to that. I've been in the game a long time, and so I understand that as long as we continue to perfect the model, as long as we continue to look at the data and make accurate judgments, and as long as we continue to not overextend ourselves, that we will be able to continue profitably, as profitably as can be for our org. Our recruitment numbers are continuing to increase, passing 8 million sick left radicals in our follower network just recently. We're now doing a flex goal of 10 for the end of December, so we do need to land some more creators. Depending on how big their platforms are, I'm thinking we can get that done in maybe 4 to 10 creators pretty easily. But yeah, our sponsors real quick: Vonoire, VOIXNOIRE.com to feed a family this holiday season. I believe they're doing a toy drive as well. Also, Joey Does It. We'll plug Joey Does It because I'm pretty sure he's doing a toy drive for this Christmas, so you can check Joey Does It. Liquidate the Billionaires. This stream live on 7 platforms and uploaded to up to 20, if not more, I think it's more, platforms after the fact, is brought to you by Liquidate the Billionaires. That's right, Liquidate the Billionaires, with their ambitious goal to turn every mega yacht into a coral reef. If that's something that you can get behind, then please tap in with us on all platforms. Join Team Liquidate. Tap in with MTC STW on all platforms. Rose, I really appreciate those gifts. I really huge shout out to Rose W in the chats for Rose over on TikTok. But we're trying to figure out more platforms to go live on, but not as many may be in our interest. I feel like we're on the big 7 right now. Maybe I should start going live on Truth Social. Who knows? Maybe the president will see me, but I'm not going to be advocating for any of y'all to spend any time in any cesspools. I'll do it myself. We've been going MAGA harpoon, MAGA ponin. We've been searching MAGAs out. I don't like to have the MAGAs come on my live because it's just not. Look, who is this dude? Move on. How about I got you with the move on right now? You blocked. We just moved that guy on. So, dude, move on. There you go. You blocked. Now you can move on. It's just that easy. It's just that easy. We're not doing this BS. This space is for core radicals. This space is for radicalization. And we're just going to continue to push the message, Yeah, it really is that easy, bro. Dude, move on. Hey, you stopped here. You really stopped here to send that comment, bro? You could have just kept swiping. So now you'll never see me again. You'll never have to deal with me again. Thank goodness, huh? Thank goodness. And you see, MAGA they want to be victims. So, and look, that guy, dude, move on. Like, you're a victim, bro. You're swiping through lives. You landed here. You could have just kept swiping. Why would you stop here, listen, be like, I don't like what this person is saying. Dude, move on. Like, dude, these people are freaking out of their minds, And that's why they vote the way that they do, because they get on their little keyboards and they clickety-clack with their little racism and stuff like that. And they think that, that's why they vote like this, because they can't do nothing in real life. And so they got this freaking dude going up there saying like, all right, I'm going to round up brown people. And they're like, yes, I want to hurt brown people. Like, God, man, these freaking demons, dude. I'm so over it. We're taking it to y'all. I'm so over this dumb stuff. I'm so over the just, man, you know, some other people have patience for it, but not I. And I'll never claim to. You know, look, I'll take a convert. I'll debate you down. I'll mold your little MAGA mind into a sick left radical. But I'm not about to be playing these games. I don't have time for that. You know, someone else can work on that. That's not my prerogative, baby. We're trying to land the most sickest leftist radicals that we can land right now, because as the CEO, that is my objective. I got to aim for the best. I got to keep the numbers high. I got to make sure that I am matching the energy of all of our operatives. And whenever y'all are doing what y'all were doing, it makes it very hard for me to match that energy. That's why I got to be here in a suit on a Sunday like a fool. That's why I got to work 7 days a week. That's why we're launching the raves. That's why we're upping the content. That's why we are literally flooding the zone with as much coordinated content as we can from all of our comrades, because that's what y'all require of me. I mean, when I'm seeing what y'all are doing, when I'm seeing all this energy in the streets, when I'm seeing all of the protests and the mass blackout that we're in, and I'm seeing, you know, them doing the ice scraper thing and Home Depot, when I'm seeing the motherfucking Antifa frog standing in the face of fascism, when I see all of that, I think to myself, well, I can do more. I must do more. Every comrade who can right now must. And so therefore, here on the Sunday, like a fool, like I said, but it's okay. We're going to continue pushing. I'm not even going to lie to y'all, like I never do. I didn't have anything prepared. I didn't even look at the news. I got off of work Friday morning. I unplugged, did the pod for y'all, did what I could, but at the same time, I've been unplugged. I haven't looked at anything. So it looks like Trump commuted the sentence for a former private equity executive, David Gentile. So let's go right into it and look up what David Gentile did and see why he was pardoned. So David Gentile will go to the DOJ. So this was published from the DOJ press release Friday, May 9th, 2025. I am going to read some of it to y'all because this is the first time I'm reading it. And frankly, I'm not even going to lie to y'all. I think you should actually require anyone that you listen to or engage with online to read at least a couple of things to you every now and then, just so that you can gauge their competency level, just so that you can gauge to make sure their reading comprehension is actually there, because I think that's where we get away with letting some of these influencers and some of these people get on here, is that we think that they're smart or whatever, but in all actuality, they can't read. And this isn't ableist or anything. Like, and if you want to get up here and debate politics and all these things, and you want to sit here and say that MAGA's right and all of that, at the bare minimum, you need to be able to read. So, oh, you know, I haven't figured out how to share my screen. Not share my screen, do the display. Because low-key, I guess I could do the display. But you know what? I'm lazy. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. I'm lazy right now. It's Sunday. I'm already working. So to ask me to do more work, come on now. Y'all are just being selfish. But I will figure out how to do those things. I know it's not too hard. I think I just have to add a source or whatever. But I'm not in the mood to do that on the fly. So, David Gentile and Jeffrey Schneider defrauded thousands of individual investors in a $1.6 billion GPB capital fund scheme. Earlier today in federal court in Brooklyn, David Gentile, the founder and former chief executive of GPB Capital, and Jeffrey Schneider, the former CEO of Ascendant Capital, were sentenced by United States District Judge Rachel P. Kovner to several years in prison and 6 years in prison, respectively, for their roles in a multi-year scheme to defraud more than 10,000 investors by misrepresenting the performance of 3 GPP Capital private equity funds and the source of funds used to make monthly distribution payments to investors. Collectively, the GPP funds raised were approximately $1.6 billion from investors. Both defendants were convicted by a federal jury in August 2024 following an 8-week trial of securities fraud conspiracy, and wire fraud conspiracy. Gentile was also convicted for wire fraud. So these guys literally just went to jail. They were just sentenced to jail in May, did a few months in jail, and Trump has pardoned this guy. So this guy can go back out and literally make another Ponzi scheme. That is absolutely insane, because whenever he commuted the sentence, you boys, freaking thing is wiped clean, and now he can literally go back out and defraud more investors. And look, I'm not even going to lie to you. I know that whenever when we're using the term investors, that doesn't always mean that the people actually had money. Those could have been like pension funds and different types of things. I didn't go into the details to see exactly who was defrauded, but I do just want to make sure that we understand that sometimes investors can be a collection of working class people who have pooled their money together and thought that these smart, fancy Wall Street people were doing something good for them. So, yeah, Trump just put that freaking criminal back on the streets. But hey, birds of a feather, huh? Birds of a feather. Donnie J, I understand why you would have pardoned this guy, because this is exactly what you want to happen in your America. You want investors to be defrauded. You don't believe in the rule of law. And this is highly likely the same types of things that you are engaging in, which makes sense. I believe it. Elon Musk spit some propaganda today saying that Optimus robots will build themselves in self-replicating factories. Well, if we get to that point, then I can tell you that we as humanity have completely failed, but I do not think that we will get to the point that we will allow trillionaire Elon Musk to make an autonomous robot army. No, I think that we can figure out a way to liquidate before then, and if we can't liquidate all the billionaires, there will be at least some way that we can slow down Mr. Musk. I don't want autonomous robots walking around. I'm not trying to interact with a bunch of clankers. Call me whatever. Call me sick life radical, but it is what it is. And if those robots are walking around, I don't want them to be solely owned by a bunch of psychopaths, psychopathic billionaires. Like, that's the thing about it. I'm tired of everything in our lives being owned by psychopathic billionaires. I want to get back to some degree of normalcy, but when you look at, history, there has never been any degree of normalcy because, we've always just been getting robbed. I mean, especially in America, man, we've always just been getting robbed. Working class people of color have just always been getting robbed, I'm not even have to assume what David Gentile looks like, but let me just confirm that this guy that was just pardoned, I just want to confirm what he looks like. Who is David Gentile? Who is David Gentile? Is this David Gentile? There ain't no way. No, this isn't. This is the freaking U.S. attorney in the picture. It seems like it would be easier to find what this guy looks like. Oh, well. Regardless, shit's disgusting, dog. Putting criminals back on the streets, Putting criminals back on the streets. OPEC Plus set to hold oil output policy steady, so we're not expecting any change from oil output from OPEC Plus. Oil prices are really down right now, very dampened. Hey homie, I can share your stream in a Kit community. Yo, there's a lot of scammers that just be trying to sell on these live streams on these smaller platforms. more power to them. But hey, go try to scam someone else, yo. We're out here hustling. I don't necessarily need y'all. Like, I'm out here hustling. I'm gonna get these followers myself. I know how to do it all myself. Like, just because we ain't got no followers on these other platforms don't mean I don't know how to hustle, baby. Hey, shout out to God is Fiction. Wow. Thank you for the heart, me. I appreciate that. We are continuing to preach. We're continuing to preach this anti-billionaire message because that's the one that the working class people need to hear every day. When it comes down to it, man, I don't know at what point are we not tired, At what point are we not going to, I don't know. But I can tell you what, 2026, we're planning 365 days of economic blackout. Thank you for the heart, me. I appreciate that. We're planning 365 days of economic blackout. We're going to continue to fight. We have to fight. We have to figure out as many creative ways that we can fight, legally, of course. We have to just pull out all the stops. I mean, we have to pull out all the stops because that's what they do with us. When the billionaires come for their profits, they do not, they don't stop. They come up with every way that they can get it out of us. They buy our car washes. They buy our houses. They buy our hospitals. They buy our grocery stores. They buy everything that they can buy to extract value for the shareholders. They buy everything that they can buy to squeeze us and put us in debt slavery. I mean, look, hey, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, I know there's no way that we can continue to go on like this because things are just, we're just so down, man. Everyone is just so down and out. Everyone is just on the brink right now, literally struggling with credit card debt, playing revolving musical chairs with our finances. Everyone is just so down in so many ways. There's no way that the billionaires can continue on to just rob us in this way. I'm telling you, that's why I know that the energy is different, and we're seeing that the motion's different. Even during Joe Biden's administration, there were protests and whatnot, but I mean, it's happening every day. I mean, we're seeing stuff every single day in the streets in some capacity in every single city. And I know that things like that were happening, but like people were taking breaks. People might have been at brunch during Biden's administration, we were still putting up the good fight. We were still hitting them from the left because realistically, another capitalist administration is damning the working class people no matter what. But yeah, man, we're going to figure it out. I'll tell you what, though. I'm probably going to go ahead and cut it for today. I wanted to come to y'all on Sunday because I felt like that's something that y'all deserved. And I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of the after-hour CEO raves that we've been having. We may have one tonight. I don't know. But regardless, we are in the midst of this economic blackout. Look at that. Hey, we just gained a subscriber on Substack. Just like that, while I was on the live with y'all, we gained a subscriber on Substack today. That is amazing. Thank you so much for that subscribe on Substack. Oh my God. Did we just gain a paid subscriber on Substack? Yo, I think we gained 2 subscribers. I think we gained a paid subscriber and a regular subscriber. That's absolutely crazy. Thank you so much for that. Man, that's amazing. Y'all are the people that's making the working class propaganda possible. I don't ask for your money. I hope that y'all really see that I spend a lot of time speaking with y'all, and in no way, shape, or form do I ask for your money because that's not what we're designed for. I'm out here. I'm going to get this money myself. I'm going to earn this money from our creation game, from all of the networks that we've built, from all of the ability for all of us to extract revenue from all of our different pages. I'm designing something very intricate, very innovative. So that's why I don't get on here and ask for the money, because I know that working class people don't have any money to give. But thank you so much for that. And thank you so much, everyone, for bolstering us on every platform, because that's how we beat the algorithm, especially on Facebook, especially on TikTok right now. They're doing everything that they can to silence leftist voices, because they know that voices of compassion and empathy is everything that is the opposite of these billionaire psychopaths, these billionaire demons. And so they're making sure to silence us so that we cannot create more compassionate, empathetic people. So with that, everyone, please make sure to Google our Antifa Code of Ethics. Make sure you're up to speed on the Antifa Code of Ethics, because that's how we're living our lives now. Compassion, empathy, solidarity, no mercy. And people, they get a little thrown off by the last one, but when you really think about it, no mercy it's the core tenet. It's the core tenet, because after we give you compassion, after we give you empathy, after we give you solidarity, you still choose to be a belligerent against us, then how should we have mercy for you? At what point? At what point do we draw the line? We're different from the billionaires. That's very obvious. But I think that we have to make sure that we're willing to be as creative, as unethical legally as they are. And, that's why I know that we're different now, because the energy and the motion, especially in our operation, has just been so significant. I'm not even going to lie to y'all, especially with the lives. Look, another moment of honesty and vulnerability. Like I said, I've been in the content creation game a while. I've seen the best numbers I could see. I've seen the worst numbers I can see. And with these lives, it keeps me humble, because even though we're able to do millions of views with all types of content, for some reason these lives are they don't hit, they don't pop, the algorithms don't feed them. But it's okay. I'm not really worried, because especially the way that we're doing these lives, it's very obvious that we're getting so much more from them than the algorithm could ever give us, especially the fact that we're using this as one large cut. Then we get a bunch of cuts from the long form content. We can, get articles from the content. We can, it's very circular right now. Once I get it fine tuned, you are literally seeing our propaganda factory become fine tuned in real time, become super effective in real time. So I'm not necessarily worried that the real time live views aren't there. I mean, we still do good. We still do decent enough. We picking up a couple followers here and there on the different platforms. So it's enough to keep pushing, So thank you to all our comrades who give me the energy to continue pushing on, because, on the days when I don't want to, on the days when I feel like what's the point, on the days in which I feel beaten down or I don't have the energy, I look to my comrades and I see that you're working hard. I see that you're not sleeping because fascism doesn't sleep. I see that you're not taking a break because racism and oppression doesn't take a break. And so I put on the suit. I continue to fight because my comrades are fighting. And so how could the CEO be sitting there sailing around on a mega yacht, flying around on a private jet? How could the CEO not be at work if all of our operatives are working tirelessly for the liberation of the working class people? So with that, your CEO is signing off, but still working. Thank you all, comrades, for tuning in today to the Sunday episode of the Propaganda Factory Live, available on 7 platforms, uploaded after the fact to 20, 30, I don't know how many platforms, but we're everywhere. MTC STW on all platforms, the Propaganda Factory on all platforms. Again, thank you so much, comrades, for your time today. Stay safe, stay subversive, stay liquidated, stay hydrated.